The movie commences by introducing Bud Jablonski, an ordinary man during the day and a vampire hunter during the night. He meticulously cleans swimming pools, ensuring no witnesses before gearing up with weapons. His true purpose? To hunt and eliminate vampires, selling their teeth for his livelihood. Wearing a mask and suit, Bud enters what appears to be an innocent house, strategically setting up a thin silver wire as a trap across the doors. In the shadows, an elderly woman steps out of a room, curious about Bud's presence. In response, Bud shoots her. Despite appearing fatally wounded, the woman transforms into a vampire, her injuries healing instantly. This sparks a violent struggle, showcasing the remarkable abilities vampires possess. Bud's efforts to shoot her down prove ineffective as she fights back ferociously, causing harm to him. A piece of glass cuts Bud's hand, serving as a reminder of the intense battle. With determination, Bud fights back, ultimately impaling the vampire with a wooden stake and decapitating her. In an unexpected turn, a young vampire dashes into the house, only to meet his demise as the silver wire cuts through his neck. Bud collects their teeth and retreats. The scene shifts to a construction site where Audrey, an affluent woman, stands with an umbrella. She's imprisoning a middle-aged vampire within iron rods. Audrey herself is a vampire, possessing a wealth of powers from her extended lifespan, including the ability to withstand sunlight briefly. She buries the man beneath concrete, vowing to return after a century due to his refusal to sell his property. The narrative transitions to Bud's private hotel room, his refuge from the dangerous world he navigates. His wife, Jocelyn, and daughter, Paige, are his priorities, motivating him to keep his dangerous profession a secret. He picks Paige up from school and later visits Jocelyn's house. Jocelyn plans to sell her home to cover Paige's school fees and Brace's expenses. Bud is torn, as this move would mean losing access to his daughter. Desperate to keep his family together, Bud promises to find the money within 7 days to stop Jocelyn from selling the house. His determination to provide for his daughter and protect his family drives him into a world of shadows and secrets. Bud ventures into an underground shop to trade the vampire teeth he harvested. The shopkeeper, Troy, assesses their value based on age and offers a paltry $800. Bud finds this offer unacceptable and urges Troy to be fair. Troy suggests selling to the Union, a legal organization dedicated to hunting vampires. Bud's history with them is tumultuous. He was ousted for breaking their rules. Despite his reluctance, Bud agrees to sell only the teeth of the young vampire. Meanwhile, Audrey visits the house of the deceased old lady and finds her lifeless form. The loss hits her hard, revealing a deeper connection between them. Her assistant discovers a shard of glass with Bud's blood and detects his scent. The missing teeth lead Audrey to deduce the manner of their deaths, and she tasks her assistant with tracking down Bud. The next day, Bud seeks help from his friend John, a member of the Union. Bud pleads to be reinstated, and John introduces him to the Union's head. The head presents a record of Bud's past infractions, refusing to hire him again. John vouches for Bud's transformation, leading the head to offer him a second chance, albeit under the surveillance of Seth, an office worker tasked with monitoring his adherence to the rules. Seth and Bud team up, even though they're not very comfortable working together. Bud quickly sells the last few teeth. Seth thinks they're worth $10,000, but because Bud owes a lot of money, $8,000 is taken out. This trade marks a rough start between Bud and Seth. The boss warns Bud that more rule-breaking will get him kicked out, and Seth will be back in charge. As Bud gets ready for his next vampire hunt, he meets Seth again. Seth knows a lot more about vampires than Bud does. He tells Bud about a 700-year-old vampire who's part of the European drug gang. Getting ready for a vampire hunting mission, Bud gets joined by Seth, a Union member who follows the rules but lacks practical experience. Despite the Union's guidelines, Bud insists that Seth should stay in the car for his safety. However, Seth sticks to the rules and insists on going with Bud. Frustrated by Seth's stubbornness, Bud goes on to face the dangers alone. Meanwhile, Audrey tracks the vampire teeth back to Troy's shop and questions him about where he got them. When Troy claims he doesn't know, Audrey hurts his hand, forcing him to reveal that Bud was involved. Bud, in pursuit of 3 teenage vampires, finds himself under a fierce attack. As he struggles to defend himself, he contacts Seth, who informs their boss about Bud's danger. Seth follows his duty and steps in, discovering Bud cornered by a vampire. Bud tells Seth to position his gun within reach, leading to the vampire's defeat. Overwhelmed by the situation, Seth reacts with fear, but Bud provides comfort and relief. Later, on his way to his apartment, Bud accidentally bumps into Heather, his new neighbor. They both apologize and show interest in each other during their brief encounter. The next day, Bud picks up Seth for work. He notices a notebook in Seth's hand, and he finds Seth's record of Bud's rule breaking from the previous day. Seth explains that he's following union rules by documenting these incidents. Bud argues that strict rule following would have gotten them killed. They're heading to Troy's shop, where they plan to get weapons. But when they arrive, they're shocked to find Troy dead. Seth wants to inform the union, but Bud steps in, worried that it could disrupt their vampire hunting missions. In a heated argument, Bud reveals that he desperately needs $10,000 by Monday to secure his family's future. He expresses his desperation and frustration, asking Seth to understand. After thinking it over, Seth agrees to give Bud a 2-day break. This scene highlights the tension between sticking to strict rules and the harsh realities of life in the shadows. While they're talking, the imposing Nazarian brothers, who are well-known vampire hunters, show up and ask Bud to join them in hunting vampires. Even though Bud usually likes being alone, his desire for more money makes him team up with the brothers. With weapons ready, the group heads to a house where vampires are hiding. The Nazarian brothers attack without mercy, moving quickly and decisively. Amid all the chaos, Bud finds where the vampires are hiding and starts going after them. Vampires start coming through the walls, starting a fierce battle where many of them are killed. Seth's comical struggle and the brothers rescuing him add a bit of humor to the intense fight. After the hunt, Seth notices something unusual: various kinds of vampires living together. In the next part, Bud takes his daughter Paige to a friend's birthday celebration, and she gets involved in the fun. But things get messed up when Audrey calls Bud and promises to get back at him for the old lady's death. Suddenly, things go crazy as a bunch of guys come to the party, and it's clear they're up to no good. Bud realizes that Paige is in danger and acts quickly, grabbing her and speeding away in his car. After a high-stakes chase, Bud manages to shake off his pursuers and makes it back home. However, his relief is short-lived when he discovers Audrey is already there, holding Jocelyn hostage. In a brave attempt to stop Audrey, Seth intervenes but ends up getting bitten by her. Audrey's henchmen take control of Paige, using her safety to force Bud into submission. Amidst the tense situation, Jocelyn demands answers, leading Bud to reveal his hidden identity as a vampire hunter. Confusion overtakes Jocelyn as the unbelievable truth unfolds. Audrey's desire for revenge comes from her strong connection to the old lady, whose death was orchestrated by Bud. Audrey reveals her dark plans. She wants to avenge the old lady by killing Jocelyn and turning Paige into a vampire. Bud's frantic efforts to rescue his family are foiled when the henchmen overpower him, kidnapping Jocelyn and Paige. An hour later, Bud regains consciousness to a startling scene. Seth's transformation into a vampire is in progress. Seth grapples to control his newfound abilities, his reflection fading from the mirror. A desperate struggle unfolds as Seth tries to bite Bud. Fearing the worst, Bud makes the agonizing choice to sever Seth's head. Overwhelmed by grief and regret, Bud apologizes to Seth's lifeless body. Yet, the impossible occurs: Seth's detached head continues to communicate. Shocked, Bud realizes that Audrey's bite has given Seth a unique power, defying the usual rules of becoming a vampire. In an astonishing turn of events, Seth's head miraculously reattaches to his body, leaving Bud both baffled and remorseful. On their way back to Bud's apartment, Bud realizes that Heather is a vampire, and he understands that she betrayed him by informing Audrey about his family. Consumed by anger, Bud becomes focused on Heather. During their confrontation, Heather confesses, revealing Audrey's dark scheme and disclosing the location of her hideout. With renewed determination, Bud, Seth, and Heather form an unexpected alliance. Heather offers some of her blood to help reattach Seth's head to his body, showcasing the extraordinary abilities that the supernatural world brings. Heather's revelations shed new light on Audrey's motives as she unveils the tragic link between the old lady Bud killed and Audrey herself. The lady is Audrey's daughter. Audrey, a vampire with 700 years of history, possesses formidable superpowers and is fueled by her thirst for vengeance over her daughter's death. United against their mutual enemy, the trio infiltrates Audrey's secret hideout. Inside, a fierce confrontation unfolds as Audrey targets Paige. Jocelyn bravely defends her daughter, setting the stage for a battle that blurs the lines between the living and the supernatural. Audrey's henchmen sense Bud's presence and unleash a swarm of vampires to eliminate the intruders. Armed and resolute, Bud takes down several with precise shots. Seth's unique vampire abilities shield him from their attacks, a fortunate advantage he and Heather exploit to thin the vampire ranks. As the battle intensifies, unexpected help arrives in the form of John, who charges in with a machine gun. Seth had called for reinforcements, and now the two groups joined forces. Each member has a specific role. Seth and Heather repel the vampire assault, while Bud and John focus on directly confronting Audrey. As the fight rages on, vampires surround them, but John stands bravely, determined to shield his friend. In a final act of bravery, John recognizes the threat posed by the vampires and their sinister leader. He leads the vampires into a cave and, with unwavering courage, triggers a bomb attached to his body, sacrificing himself to wipe out the entire vampire horde. In doing so, he saves those he cares for and brings an end to Audrey's reign of terror. As Audrey's malicious hold tightens around Jocelyn, she demands that Paige become her adopted daughter. Amidst the turmoil, Audrey's aide tries to thwart Bud's efforts. However, Seth and Heather step in, launching a fierce counterattack against the assistant. Inside Audrey's chamber, Bud confronts her, passionately urging her to release his family from her grip. Audrey's supernatural speed gives her an edge, enabling her to strike Bud relentlessly. Meanwhile, Seth and Heather overpower the assistant, their combined strength proving dominant. Undeterred, Bud faces off against Audrey, begging her to abandon her wicked plans. Audrey's transformation into her vampire form unleashes her supernatural prowess, letting her relentlessly batter Bud with her enhanced speed. Yet, Seth and Heather's steadfast teamwork prevails, helping them defeat the assistant. While Bud endures Audrey's unyielding assault, Jocelyn unexpectedly strikes Audrey from behind, stabbing her. The ensuing clash compels Audrey to chase after Jocelyn, leading Bud to intervene with a shot to her neck. Astonishingly, Audrey deflects the bullet with her otherworldly abilities and dashes towards Bud with incredible speed. In a calculated maneuver, Bud remains still, his eyes shut. At the last possible moment, a silver wire entangles Audrey's neck, severing her head as she hurtles forward. With Audrey and her vampire minions defeated, tranquility is restored. Standing beside the triumphant trio, Seth and Heather make a firm decision to embrace the roles of vampire hunters. In the aftermath, the leader of the Union confronts Bud, laying out his numerous breaches of the rules and using job loss as a threat. Seth cleverly navigates through the regulations, ultimately securing Bud's ongoing employment. With newfound clarity and honesty, Bud makes a promise to Jocelyn that they can reconstruct their life together. Their genuine affection culminates in a heartfelt kiss, and as their daughter Paige envisions a future, it's a touching sight. In an unexpected turn, John emerges from the shadows, having survived his brave sacrifice. As he enjoys a quiet moment and a cigarette, he expresses his fondness for the place, a testament to the strength and unity that prevailed there. The film ends triumphantly, showing the unyielding spirit of those who faced darkness and emerged stronger, united, and forever transformed.